I used Yarn Bee, Scrubology 3-ounce green, 1 skein. I love this cotton, 3.5-ounce khaki and rosy, 1 skein each. Crochet hooks 5.0 and 5.5 millimeter. Scissors, stitch marker, and a yarn needle. I picked up this little booklet at Hobby Lobby and decided to make it. I did go online to print out the actual pattern. I'll try to add that, and here's the yarn I used. So here's the pattern that I printed out, and again I will try to make sure that I add the link into the description on this particular project so that you can print it out as well. So I got Scrubology yarn, color green, for the cactus. I got this at Hobby Lobby. There's the back of the label. And it also calls for the flower, which is I Love This Cotton. I did not like this color. I actually got some leftover yarn that I had, and I used a different color. So I'll use this color for something else, a different project. And then for the bowl that the cactus sits in, I got the I Love This Cotton in khaki. Right there, there's the name of the color. So we're going to start off with making the cactus, and right here in the instructions it says you have to make 2. So what it means is you're making the first half of the cactus, which is this piece right here, and we're going to make another piece just like this one, and we will put the 2 together, and once we do that, it will form into a more of a cactus look. So let's get started with that. All right, we're going to start out with about a 12-inch tail and go ahead and make your slip knot. Okay, I'm going to make my slip knot, and this is how I make mine. Just bring that yarn over my finger and just put the hook in there. Now this yarn is very thin and very fluffy, if you want to call it fluffy, and it's a little bit hard to work with at first, and it's just small little chains that you're making. But once you get your first row of chains and start making the project, it'll get easier, I promise. So we're going to make 18 chains. That's 1. And you want to hold it. You want to make sure that you don't twist it as you're working. There's our first chain right there. Okay, so that's 1. I'm going to make the second chain, 2, 3, and 4. Now I want you to make 18 of these, and I will meet you at the end. So I've done 18 stitches, and I'm going to do a close-up so you can see them a little bit better. So we're going to count 1, 2, you see each stitch? So you want to count them, make sure that you have 18. So we're going to hold our 18 stitches, our 18 chain stitches. There's the back. This is the side where the chains show up, and this is where we're going to start doing our double crochet. We are going to start by doing a double crochet in the 3rd chain from the hook. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and we're just going to go under 1 strand of the yarn. Grab your yarn around the hook, go into that 3rd chain, grab the yarn, bring it back through, grab the yarn, go through 2 loops, and grab the yarn and go through the last 2 loops. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and put a stitch marker in the top of that double crochet that we just did. And that is right there. I'm going to go under the 2 strands of yarn. And that way I can just keep track that that was my first double crochet that I handmade. Okay, so we've done our first double crochet. We're going to do 15 more so that we will have a total of 16. I'm just doing a close-up so you can see where you did the first double crochet, and then you just want to go into the next stitch right there and just do another double crochet, and then you'll just be going all the way across to the end, and you should have 16 double crochets total when you get to the end. Once you finish, just count your stitches. You can count your posts, like 1, 2, all the way to the end, or you can go to the top of the project and just count the stitches. These are how the stitches look. 1, 2, 3, 4, and just count to 16. Now looking at our pattern, you see that we did our 18 chains, and we did our double crochet in the third chain from the hook, and we ended up with 16 double crochet. And now we're going to start row 2, and row 2 is going to be front post double crochet, and row 3 is going to be back post double crochet. And then rows 4 through 23, we're going to repeat rows 2 and 3. And then you see the last row 24. Now we're going to start with row 2, and you want to turn your work. And we're going to start off by chaining 1. Here is the chain 1. And then we are going to go in behind that double crochet from the previous row, which we will also call a post. So we pull up our yarn, and then we're going to go right behind that post and grab the yarn again and come back through the back of the post, grab the yarn again, go through 2 loops on the hook, and go pull up the yarn, go through 2 loops on the hook. So I'm just going to pull my hook out, and here is our front post double crochet right there. And I'm going to get a stitch marker, and I'm just going to put it into the top stitch that signifies that front post double crochet. And just put that in right there. And let's continue. Okay, let's just do a couple more front post double crochet. Grab your yarn, go behind the post, grab the yarn, come back through, grab the yarn, go through 2, grab the yarn, go through 2. All right, one more. Another front post double crochet, and you want to do this all the way down to the end. So I am up to my 15th front post double crochet. So this is number 15. And then for the last front post double crochet, I'm taking my stitch marker out, and it's on this turning stitch right here at the end. I will do my last front post double crochet, and that'll make 16 altogether. So now I've got 16 front post double crochet. So now we're going to go ahead and turn our work and chain 1 and start our back post double crochet. Now with the front post double crochet, you know we went right behind that post. So front post, we went like this. Now with our back post double crochet, we're going to go behind the stitch, grab the yarn, and come through, and then grab the yarn again and go through 2 and go through 2. And I'm going to do that one more time. So you pick up your yarn. There's the back. So we pick up your yarn. You go through the back. I pinch it together so I can see better. And then grab the yarn, come back through. Grab the yarn, go through 2. And grab the yarn and go through 2. Let's put a stitch marker in there. So I've gone ahead and put my stitch marker in the first back post double crochet that I did. So I've done 2 so far. I'm going to go ahead and do another one just so that you can see how it's done. Pick up the yarn, go through the back, pinch it together, pick up the yarn, come back through, pick up the yarn, go through 2, and pick up the yarn and go through 2. All right, so we've done our front post and our back post. Now is the row that we're on. And we're going to go ahead and finish to the end. I just wanted you to note that when you started your project, your beginning tail is on the left-hand side. That's where you did your 18 stitches, your 18 chains. So I have not finished doing all my back post double crochet. I just wanted to point out something to you. On our front post double crochet, the first one that we count, it's not the outside, it's not that one there, but it's that one. That's our first front post double crochet. So when you count across, you'll have 16. So I've just finished my 15th back post double crochet, and my last one will be on that turning stitch. So right there on the very last turning stitch, I'm doing my back post double crochet. And I want to start counting, and I don't count on the curve, I count the next one, and then I should have 16 back post double crochet. So we've turned our work, and we're going to chain 1. And we're going to do our front post double crochet. I put a stitch marker there so I would know that that side I always do front post double crochet. This side is the back post double crochet side, and this is the front post double crochet side. So if you put your work down and you pick it up again, if you have your stitch marker there, you'll always know that that's the row that you're doing the front post double crochet. So again, we go behind the post and we do our double crochet, and we go into the next one and we do it all the way across just like before. So rows 4 through 23, you're just repeating front post double crochet. In the 4th row, the 5th row will be a back post double crochet all the way across. So finishing off the front post double crochet, row 4, this is 15. That's my front post double crochet, and then 16, which is on that turning stitch. So this is 16. And then we're going to turn our work. We're going to chain 1. Start row 5 with a back post double crochet. Pick up your work, go through the back of the post. Pick up the yarn, come back through. And pick up the yarn, go through 2. And pick up the yarn, go through 2. Okay, so for rows 6 through 23, you just repeat rows 2 and 3 by alternating front post double crochet and back post double crochet. Okay, I just finished my 23rd row. You should have alternated front post double crochet, for one row, back post double crochet for the next, and continued on. We will be doing a 24th row. Now on my front post double crochet, that's where I've got my stitch marker. On this side, this is considered the wrong side. So we will be putting this together once we do our 24th row. We will be folding that in half together, and we will stitch along the top. And then we were going to weave in along the sides and pull it tight so that it looks like the top of this one. And we'll do it on the other end as well, and then we will stitch the two together. I just finished doing the 24th row. So we're going to cut the yarn about 12 inches or so. And then we're just going to do one last chain stitch to pull it through. So just grab the yarn, I'm tightening it up, do a chain stitch and pull it through. And just tighten it up. So when you fold it in half, you want the front post double crochet side to be hidden on the inside of this. So fold it in half. So you just want to do a slip stitch to join. Just put the two corners together and just put your hook underneath that first stitch. I went under at least a couple strands of yarn, and then just grab the other corner and just slip your hook into the stitch on the opposite side. Grab your yarn and just pull it through all the loops on the hook. Now that you've joined the two ends with a slip stitch, you want to go into the next stitch, grab the one in the back, and you're just going to do your single crochets. Just bring it through and grab up the yarn again and do a single crochet. So you just want to make sure that it's even and single crochet all the way across to the end. If you feel like your string of yarn is not long enough, you can just do a chain stitch and tighten it up, and grab your ball of yarn, and we'll go ahead and attach it where we left off. And of course, this is just if you feel like you didn't have enough string to do your single crochets all the way across. So I just looped this. I'm just putting it on the hook, and I'm just going to pull it through. Just going to go into that next stitch and grab the stitch on the other side. And then just pull that through, if I can find it. And then just pull that through and finish your single crochet. And then just continue all the way down to the end. So I finished my single crochets across, and you see how that blends in well. All right, so you just want to do a chain stitch to finish that off, and leave yourself, 15, 20 inches. Cut that off and pull it through to tighten it. I'm just going to use my fingers here and pull it all the way through. And now I'm going to weave it in and out, and I'll show you that next. Okay, so now we've got our yarn needle and we're going to weave this in. We're not going to pull it tight until we get all the way around. And you just start to go in and out, and I know the camera's not catching this, so let me do it again so you can see what I'm doing. Just weaving in and out underneath the stitches. So you just go in, like in the gap is fine. Just put it in there. Underneath. Just go under a couple of gaps every other stitch or every other 2 stitches and just pull it through. And once we get all the way around, we will be tightening it up, closing it up, and then we'll do the other end the same way that we've done this end. Just pull it all the way through. So I forgot to put my stitch marker in, and that's why I noted that earlier. So you want to go right when you finish where you began, and then you're just going to take your yarn and you're going to pull it tight. Pull it so that you'll bring the whole piece together. You don't want to pull it too tight because it'll break. This yarn is thin, but just enough to where it brings it together. And there you have that one end of the cactus right there. That's what the piece is, and we'll do the other end. I'm also going to take another stitch right here just to tighten it up so it doesn't come out. So I've gone ahead and done my weaving on the other end. Take my stitch marker out and just pull it tight. To close it shut, and then we have our other piece. And I'll go ahead and just weave in a couple of times, or stitch I should say, just to keep it nice and tight. Just grab a few pieces of yarn and go through it a few times and just make sure that it's secure. I had to tighten it just a little more and just take a few stitches. So you want to take both of your pieces and you want to flatten them, and then we'll put the flat sides together. Flatten both pieces, put them together. We're going to stitch up the center, and once we do that, it's going to give this lovely cactus shape. So I've cut a piece of yarn. It's about 20 inches, and then I folded it in half, 20 inches or more. And I'm going to, the reason I folded it in half is because I'm going to take the other end of your yarn where it's folded in half, and you want to put that through your needle. And then you're just going to pull it through until you have a tail. And of course your tail is going to be 2 strands. Just straightening it up there. So you want to take one piece of your cactus and you're going to go into the top middle with your needle and your thread, and you want to pull it through, but not all the way through. You just want to pull it until you still have your loop there, and then you come back through the top And you just take your needle and put it through that loop. Okay, so I'm speeding up the film, and I just want you to just weave in and out. Go in one side and out the other side. We're just doing this to secure this piece and make it flat before we sew the other piece to it. And you want to do this to both pieces of the cactus that you made. So just go back and forth like so. So now I'm just going to go under a few strands to make sure it's secure. Going in that loop there. And I'm just going to do a couple more. And just make sure that you do this on both pieces of the cactus before you sew them together. And then just cut it off. And I have a kitty cat that is bored and wants to play, so I will play with the kitty for a minute. So now that you have both of your pieces, and one of mine came out bigger than the other, and that's perfectly all right, you're just going to put both of them together and get another thread to thread your needle, and we're going to sew these together. And you just want to sew this like we did the single pieces. Just go back and forth through both pieces so that they'll be sewn together. And I just want you to continue on. I'm just going to do a few stitches here, and then I want you to go all the way to the end, and then I'll show you how I finish off at the end, which is not much different than what I did before. So you just want to weave in and out at the end here. Just make sure that it's secure, just like we did before. And then once you're done with that, you'll just cut the yarn. So here's your cactus, and you want to decide where you want to sew in the flower, and which will be your top and which side you want to have as the bottom. So we're going to make the flower now, and I used the color yarn that the pattern called for, but I thought it was kind of dull. So I had some scrap yarn, so I made it out of my scrap yarn. But I will be showing you how to make the flower out of this color here. To make the flower, you need to make a magic ring, and I've got my tail to the right, just wrapping the yarn around my 3 fingers. And going underneath that piece of yarn, grabbing the one there, and turn the hook around, and come back and grab that piece of yarn, and then just pull it through. Then take your fingers out, hold on to it, take your fingers out. That's my tail to the left. And I'm going to grab the working yarn and just move that over to the left. Now we're going to do 5 single crochet inside the magic ring. So just put your hook in the magic ring, grab the yarn, bring it through, grab the yarn, and go through the 2 loops on the hook. And you just want to do that 5 times. Here's the second one, third, and the 4th one, and the 5th one. Now we're going to grab our tail, and you just want to pull it until it closes up. And we're going to go ahead and do a slip stitch. Now you just want to go underneath that first stitch underneath both strands, that first single crochet that you did. Just put your hook under there, under both, and pull it through, and pull it through the loop on the hook. So to make our first petal, we're going to do a half double crochet in the same stitch that we did our slip stitch. There's our half double crochet. Then we're going to do 3 double crochets. Here's the first one. And the second double crochet. And the third double crochet. And all this is in the same stitch, and then your half double crochet. And there is your first petal. So you want to continue this pattern. We're going to go into the next stitch, and we're going to do our half double crochet, and then 3 double crochets in the same stitch, and then a half double crochet. Now that you've done your 5 petals, you want to slip stitch to the first stitch to finish it off. So that first stitch right there of that first petal, you just want to take your hook and just go in there and pull your yarn through and pull it through on the hook and do a chain stitch to finish off. Then you just want to cut your yarn and pull it through. And then go ahead and weave in your ends. And then we will attach the flower to our cactus. And again, I made another one with a different yarn, which I like better, and that's the one I'm going to be sewing on. And we'll do that next. So I've cut my piece of yarn as before and folded it in half, put it through the needle, and we're just going to start by going into the cactus, pulling that yarn through, and then go into the loop at the end of your yarn there, and then just grab a piece of the middle of the flower, just go in there, and that way you're attaching it without it showing on the top. Grab another piece of the cactus, and you're just going to be turning as you do your work, and I'm going to grab another piece from the flower, the bottom of the flower, just go into another piece of yarn, and then another piece of the cactus. And you just want to keep doing this around, all the way around the flower, until you've attached it and it's secured. And I'm coming to the end. I'm going through that loop to secure it. One more stitch, and then I will cut it, and we will be done with the flower. All right, I've got my I Love This Cotton khaki color to make the planter dish for our cactus. And I'm going to be using a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook, 5.50. So the pattern does call for a magic ring and then 6 single crochet in the magic ring, and you can do that if you prefer. I am going to do it the old way by doing a slip knot, and then I'm going to chain 4. So here's my slip knot. So we will start by chaining 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we're just going to slip stitch to that first stitch to close it up. So just go inside that first stitch there and grab your yarn and pull it through the loop on the hook. And there you have your slip stitch. Now we're going to do 6 single crochet into the center. And you just want to go right into the center there and put your hook. Grab your yarn, bring it through, and grab your yarn and bring it through. So we're going to go ahead and go into each stitch and do 2 single crochet. We are not closing up our round with a slip stitch. We're going to go right into the back loop of that stitch right there and go ahead and do 2 single crochet. There's my first one, and here's my second one. And we're going to go ahead and put a stitch marker in that first single crochet right there. So I'm putting my stitch marker in, and then I'm going to go into the next stitch and go ahead and do 2 single crochet. And you're going to want to do this with each stitch around. So you had 6 stitches that you're going to be doing 2 single crochet in each one, so you'll end up with 12. So that's 1 and that's 2. And I want you to do this all the way around till you come to the end, and I'll meet you at the end. Now I've come all the way around. I've got 2 single crochet to put into this last stitch here. And then once I do that, I'm going to count, make sure I have 12 stitches. And I do. Now we're going to do 1 single crochet in that first stitch and 2 single crochet in the next one. So here's 1 single crochet, and I'm going to go ahead and put my stitch marker back in. And then we want to do 2 single crochet into the next stitch. That's 1, and that's 2. So repeat that pattern. Do 1 single crochet and 2 in the next one. And I will meet you at the end. Now for round 4, we're going to do a single crochet in the next 2 stitches and 2 single crochet in the next stitch. So I took out my stitch marker, and I'm going to do my single crochet in the next 2 stitches. Here's the first stitch, a single crochet, the next stitch, and I'll go ahead and put my stitch marker in. The next stitch will be another single crochet, and then 2 single crochet in the next stitch. All right, so now we're going to do a single crochet in the next 3 stitches. Just going to put my stitch marker back in again. That's the second single crochet in the next stitch, and one more in this last stitch. And then 2 in the next stitch. And my yarn has a place where they've tied it together, but I'll be able to work that in. Okay, let's go ahead and do this round. Single crochet in the next 4 stitches. Add my stitch marker. Here's my second single crochet. 3 and 4 and 2. Meet you at the end. And round 7, single crochet in the next 5 stitches, and then 2 single crochet in the next stitch, and you just want to repeat that pattern all the way around, and I will meet you at the end. Round 8, we are doing a single crochet in the next 6 stitches, and then 2 single crochet in the next stitch, and repeat that around. I'll meet you at the end. Round 9, we're going to single crochet in the next 7 stitches, and 2 single crochet in the next stitch together, and repeat all the way around. I will meet you at the end again. Round 10 is going to be a little bit different. We are going to go under both stitches, both strands of yarn under each stitch. Before, we were just going in the back loop only. So go ahead and go under both strands of yarn in the stitch, and just do your single crochet. And we're just going to do that all the way around, and we will end up with 54 stitches, just like we did in round 9. So continue on. I will meet you at the end. We are almost finished, just a few more rounds to go. So in the next 4 rounds, rounds 11 through 14, you're going to do single crochets in the back loop only of each stitch. And I'm not going to bore you with all 4 rounds. I'll just start off with the 11th round. And you just want to do your single crochet and make sure you put your stitch marker back in so you know when you're finished with your round. And just go ahead and finish up, and I'll meet you at the end. Now that we have come to the end of round 14, we're just going to finish off and weave in our ends. So I'm just going to cut the yarn, put the hook back in, take my stitch marker out, and just do a slip stitch to finish off. With a little help from my helper, Loki. Thank you, Loki. Now we're just going to thread our needle and weave in our ends. And just go under a couple pieces of yarn until you feel it's secure. And then just cut it off and you are finished. And you're ready to put your finished cactus into the dish, the planter dish, and there you have it. We'll see you next time. Happy crocheting!